Hey everyone, Warwick's here. So we're back with some Warcraft videos for once. It's been a while since I've done some of these. I've been meaning to do some PTR talent, or some talent dives from Alpha, now Beta of Dragonflight, but lots of things have gotten in the way. So today, with new talent special trees going up on PTR, granted we're only level 60, so we're not able to flesh out the entire talent tree, I've been playing around with 6 specs, and we're going to basically touch on all of them, maybe a 7th as well, with Balanced Druid potentially being in a mix there. So just a quick rundown, we're going to cover all 3 monk specs. So it's going to be more than 6. All 3 monk specs, all 4 druid specs, arms warrior, and then the holy death knight. So we're covering 9 specs total. Each of you are going to get their own video, so you're going to have a ton of videos coming out from me over the next few weeks, or over the next couple of weeks, because these are basically going to be scheduled to come out not quite every day, but probably every other day for the next little while. So going to be a lot of videos coming out from me. So today we're going to start with Brewmaster Monk. Now this is the new talent pane, which I really like. Get some cool art here. Of course, we don't have anything for Mistweaver yet. The Windwalker one I'm not a big fan of, but I love me this Brewmaster photo. They give good, the descriptions of them I think are much better. Gives sample abilities, Tiger Palm and Gift the Ox, which I think are not great choices, but whatever. They're there. That's what's happened. And then of course you click to activate the specs, and then you have this tab at the bottom that is going to allow you, which you can't see because of my camera, but there's a tab right behind me right there that switches over to the talent pane. Now we only have 60 levels worth of points, so there's not a way for us to be able to fully flesh and test out everything that we want to test. So for example, in this tree I don't have the points in bounce back yet. I only have 1 point in generous pour. Don't have, let's see, there's something else that I wanted to grab. For the most part I actually have almost everything. So I don't have fast feet, I don't have fatal touch, any points there. So there are points still missing in the class tree, but for the most part I'm able, like, this is the build that I'm going to kind of show off here, because this is the one that's closest to I think what we're going to play, generally speaking, come Dragonflight. Now some things to note out of the class tree: we don't have Charred Passions or Dragonfire Brew quite yet. Don't have Counter-Strike, don't have Anvil and Stave out of the Brewmaster tree. Those are like the big ones. And then of course I think we would be going with Weapons of Order eventually, because it's just so good for Brewmaster Monk. So this is the general build that I'm looking at, just to run it down for those of you on the that aren't aware of Brewmaster. Running Keg Smash and Stagger, the main components of Brewmaster Monk, Purifying Brew and Shuffle, and then I grabbed Hit Scheme simply because it's the best way to get down to Celestial Brew. I don't like the fact that this is the only way to get to one of our most powerful defensive options in Celestial Brew. 2 points in Gift of the Ox, which I think is a point too many. I think it needs to only be 1 point personally, because the second point doesn't do anything, at least not right now. Skipped Healing Elixir because it's just not very good. Skipped Quick Sip, because basically you purify a little bit of Stagger every time you gain 3 seconds of shuffle duration. Basically only one ability does that, and that's Keg Smash. I think Blackout Kick gives 3 seconds actually, now that I think about it, but it's just not good. We also then have our first choice node, Special Delivery and Rushing Jade Wind, forever competing for talents. I'm just picking Rushing Jade Wind just because that's what I'm the most comfortable with. But Special Delivery has always kind of had its place in the Mythic Plus realm. Alright, Celestial Flames we're skipping for now because while it's good, you just don't have the points for it. Of course, we take Celestial Brew and the talent below it that basically makes it even more powerful. So basically makes it up to 400% of Stagger Purify, which makes it a very, very big and powerful Absorb Shield. Staggering Strikes we skip. This was an old Azurite trait that we don't have room for anymore. Graceful Exit is garbage. Zen Meditation is back. Still a good cooldown. There is a boost to it, Fundamental Observation, which gives you a little bit of a cooldown reduction, and basically allows you to full channel it no matter what. So if you're hit by melee attacks, it doesn't matter, you're still going to full channel the Zen Med. That probably has niche use overall for big boss mechanics, but I think the original Zen Med is going to be just fine for like soak mechanics and stuff like that. Clash, I'm not a big fan of Clash. I've been on the record for that. Breath of Fire, main cooldown rotation, so we take it. We already talked about this. Purifying Brew, getting the second charge. I'd like to see just Purifying Brew get that second charge by default, and you don't need a talent point to do this. So trimming a point here, probably trimming a point here, and trimming a point here by just baking this into the Purifying Brew talent. Frees up some really good options in the tree to get things like Elusive Footwork, and think maybe even like Blackout Combo, or you go get Bone Dust Brew, or you can grab High Tolerance, whatever the case may be. Over here is a choice between Guy Plin's Imperial Brew, which heals you for 25% of the amount of your stagger, or you get a stronger Expel Harm. I think Guy Plin is going to be the play here in most, if not all cases, just because you're purifying a lot more than you're using Expel Harm. And Expel Harm, like this case, you basically are incentivized to use it at lower health numbers, whereas here you're just getting a steady form of self-sustain. So I think it's just better. Here we get another choice node, Fluidity of Motion, basically gives you a stronger single target Blackout Kick, which you probably could use in single target raid fights. Shadowboxing Treads is a Torghast power that's coming back in, give you 20% damage increase and strikes 2 additional targets. You're probably taking this all the time just because the damage increase is stronger. It's 20% even if you don't hit additional targets. So you're just always taking this because it's 10% better than Fluidity of Motion. We'll just skip down here. Facepalm is not a great talent. Tiger Palm is kind of finding itself being slowly, over the course of the last couple expansions, being pushed out of the rotation, but you need it to get to Counter-Strike, which is just an excellent talent. Shocking Blow is not implemented, and it's bad anyways. Nobody wants to take it. Here we get Light Brewing versus Training of Najal. You're basically taking the choice of more mastery or more brews. And the answer is almost always more brews. Of course, you get Najal. Bob and Weave versus Blackhawk's Brew. I think both of these are fine choices. I'm just more comfortable with the passive option of Bob and Weave. This Fort Brew basically gives you the status of Fort Brew now, where you get the extra stagger effectiveness. But over here, you get a 3-minute Fort Brew, and really the big thing that you take from it is the 15% DR and the 15% health. The stagger stuff doesn't really matter, so this is a skippable point right now. Here you have a choice of Scalding Brew, which is a current conduit, or you get, guaranteed Breath of Fire resets, so you can guarantee 100% uptime on Breath of Fire. I think both of these are fine, but you're probably taking Sasala Beams more often than not. Charred Passions is probably going to be your choice here because it impacts both Blackout Kick and Spinning Crane Kick, so it has single target and AoE, which makes it just a good generic choice. Dragonfire Brew is interesting. If you sit at high stagger, you can make it probably could be mathematically better, but you risk a lot of defensive potential in order to do that. High Tolerance is High Tolerance. Walk with the Ox, the current conduit, is back. Elusive Footwork, which is a passive that we get now. Anvil and Stave is really cool. This only has a 1-second internal cooldown, so basically it procs a ton and you get a lot of brews back, which when combined with Guy Plin's, it's just going to be quite a bit. And then in the capstones, Bone Dust Brew and Weapons of Order are back with their relevant legendaries, and then an extra effect, Attenuation for Bone Dust Brew, or Effusive Anima Accelerator for Weapons of Order. But in the middle is where we're at, so you get Blackout Combo, which has kind of always been a talent people want to be good, but it always competed with High Tolerance. And here it's competing with basically making Najal a better cooldown, which is what it does now, and Exploding Keg, which is basically a strong defensive because you get guaranteed 3 misses on your next melee attacks. Probably better in, honestly, I think it might be better in Raid because you just get the boss attacks to miss. Whereas in Mythic Plus, it's basically only going to be good for a couple swings. So Exploding Keg, you basically would take for the damage. And then of course you get Storm South's Last Keg, which gives you the second Keg Smash charge, which I think is just really, really valuable. So we're going to go over here to the Dungeoneer's training dummy in the beautiful but overcast city of Borealis today. And what we're going to do is I'm going to kind of just do a little bit of gameplay. Notice I did not take Rising Sun Kick out of this yet because I just felt like the point wasn't worth it and I wanted to get some other stuff. You also have to forgive me because I'm still working on adjusting my keybinds here, trying to make them all work. I even added more than I thought that probably more than I need anyways. So what we would do is on pull, sorry City Pup, get out of the, oh wait, we can do something with the City Pup? Come here, come here, come here. Oh, we're petting the dog. We're gonna pet the dog before we go. Hooray for petting the dog. Panda has a good old hearty laugh at petting the City Pup. Alright, so let's go ahead and get into it. So of course you're going to lead with Keg Smash into Breath of Fire, just because that's always going to be a good way to start off and get Snap Threat. Of course you're also going to want to Rush and Jade Wind your way in. So we're going to get Breath of Fire, Exploding Keg, Keg Smash, there. And you can see I got my stagger bar over here, so we're going to be mindful of that. Other than that, you then want to blow your cooldowns. So we'll hit the White Tiger statue, which is new. They hit a little bit there. As you can see, like, I've got 104,000 health. And I'm basically just... You never really lose it, and you always have something to do with this build. So it actually feels pretty good to me. Alright, and then of course we need new defenses. Let's see, let's go ahead and put Dampen Harm. And then let's hit our shield here. So the gameplay itself doesn't change much. Still Breath of Firing, still Keg Smashing on cooldown, Tiger Palm to fill. There's G-Wave to use it. Energy is a little bit of a concern, but for the most part, like, it's fine. So Purify, a little bit of stagger there. We also have some avoidance here. So, like, the rotation itself doesn't change. You're going to want to find some way to do something like add Rising Sun kick in. But for the most part, like, this build doesn't change. So overall, how does Brewmaster feel? Let's come over here because these things are weird in that you have to run far away from them in order to exit combat. Oh, by the way, Instant Vivify feels really good for Brewmaster. Alright, so now that we're out of combat. No, we're not out of combat. Now we're out of combat. Alright, so overall, what does Brewmaster feel like? Pretty much the same as it does in Shadowlands. You get an couple of extra tools that you'll be able to add in Rising Sun Kick, White Tiger Statue, Exploding Keg. I think they're all going to be fine. Charred Passions is going to add a lot to the spec. Brewmaster definitely looks like it's going to be one of the stronger specs in the early part of the game. Brewmaster's always kind of strong as it is. I can't think of a time where Brewmaster has been bad. It's just kind of is always solid, and Stagger has a lot to do with that. So, if you're looking to be a one-trick tank, I think that Brewmaster is going to be a fine choice. Exploding Keg does feel a little bit weird to kind of mix into the rotation at times. It feels like it cuts the flow off some. But for the most part, overall, like, it just feels really good to play. I'm pretty happy with it. Excited about the tools that you're going to get. And then you're going to, of course, get to see what, like, the tier bonuses bring in the first raid tier. So if you're a Brewmaster Monk, I think you got a lot to look forward to in terms of what you can expect. I think the spec is going to be in a very strong position. Maintains everything about it that is really fun, and you're getting even more tanky because you have Dampen Harm, you can diffuse magic, you have Fort Brew, and you're going to have, you know, potentially a Blackout statue if you need it for Mythic Plus purposes. You're going to have some sustain built in through Guy Plins, also through Anvil and Stave, allowing you to brew more often. Expel Harm is still very strong. Gift of the Ox is still very strong. You know, we're missing Keg of the Heavens, which is a little unfortunate. I kind of hoped that it would be back into the tree, but, you know, you're not going to be as self-sustaining as you are in Season 4 of Shadowlands. You are going to rely a little bit more on your healer, but, you know, the healers that have been tested by myself and Newall both have been have all felt pretty good. So definitely something that we are looking forward to overall. So overall opinion so far on Brewmaster, just off the PTR, is that it feels really good. Feels very much the same as it does in Shadowlands, with 1 or 2 extra tools being added into the mix. So if you were very happy with the way that Brewmaster played in Shadowlands, you're going to be very happy with the way it plays in Dragonflight. I think Blizzard's approach to Brewmaster Monk right now is let's just do something that kind of mixes it up just a touch, but the core base fundamentals of the spec are all very, very well tuned, very, very well defined, and they don't see it as a spec that needs a lot of work, clearly by the fact that pretty much nothing about the spec is changing. So I think overall that's a good sign if you are a fan of Brewmaster Monk. So that's my roundup on Brewmaster Monk, quick little 15-minute video on that. So we'll be doing the rest of the Monk specs coming up in the next couple videos, and then we'll be diving into Druid. So until the next video all, I hope you're all staying safe, I hope you're all having fun, you keep on gaming, and I will see you all in the next video.